We're back, ladies and gentlemen. The saga is finally over. Pierre-Luc Dubois has been traded from the Winnipeg Jets, and he has been traded in a sign-and-trade deal as he will be under contract for 8 years at an $8.5 million AAV. So 8 by 8.5. He's traded to the Los Angeles Kings, and the package going back to Winnipeg will be Gabe Vilardi, Alex Iafallo, Rasmus Kupari, and a 2024 second-round pick. So the Jets get a good haul that will keep them competitive. They don't want to be selling necessarily. They know that Hellebuyck might be on the way out. Scheifele might be on the way out. All these other players, but they want to try and persuade them to stay and show we are still a good team. We are still going to be a team that is pushing, and we are still going to continue to add talent. So as we go ahead and check out the deal here from Darren Dreger, it was quite a marathon to say the least. And you know what? Makes sense that the Montreal Canadiens could not match it. They did not have this type of value. Dubois at 8 by 8.5 traded to the Kings in exchange for Iafallo, Vilardi, Kupari, and a second in 2024, originally Montreal's selection. Welcome back, Vinny. There's going to be a lot to break down in this one. Hopefully our last live stream for breaking news of the afternoon. I haven't gone very far from my computer all afternoon. Any other thing? Incredibly challenging process. The Kings acquire a really strong player, locked down to maximum term, and Cheveldayoff turns an asset who wanted out into 4 excellent pieces. That's well said. Let's look into what Jay Fresh had to say as well. Because I have the card ready to go, but I want to look at the per 60 card as well that I saw he had just posted recently, because that tells you a little bit more about Gabe Vilardi. Then I will go ahead and pull up the cards. On the other players, I have all the things up here at the top of my screen. I've been anticipating this trade for a while now. Let's see, Jay Fresh, here he is, coming fresh off the Mackenzie Blackwood trade that we just were live for not too long ago. So Pierre-Luc Dubois, he is a top 6 center, very strong offensively driven, offense driver at even strength and on the power play, but not a great finisher and iffy defensively. So he's in that 63rd percentile projected wins above replacement, high even strength offense in the 93rd percentile, only 26th though for defense. Meanwhile, very high for power play. He has good teammates, not playing against the highest levels of competition though for being a second liner top 6 kind of guy. Goals and primary assists per 60 are below league average a little bit. So he does still have a bit of growing to do. He's still 25 years of age. This will be his team for the foreseeable future for a very long time. He may be the heir to Anze Kopitar unless Quinton Byfield is going to push him out of that spot. This is his projection card for 2023-24. He's an effective second liner, but can he inherit Kopitar's top spot? He is projected to have numbers that look a lot more balanced when you look at the shots, rebounds, deflections, assists, high danger passes, stuff like that, but still not great when it comes to some of the stuff in the defensive zone and some of that even strength defense. So still something to build on absolutely for Pierre-Luc Dubois in his game, but he's a very valuable piece. The Kings are going to be happy to have him. He's coming off of the best season of his career, 63 points in 73 games. That would have been a pace of 71 points. An 82-game pace of 71 points is coming off here in Winnipeg. And not a very good Winnipeg Jets team either. A good team, but I'm not saying one of the better teams. They were not great in the last half of the season as well, and they did not do well against Vegas. Meanwhile, LA gets 3 great pieces plus a second-round pick. Gabriel Vilardi, 11th overall pick in 2017. Alex Iafallo, who is a very competent top-9 forward. And Rasmus Kupari, who was the 20th overall pick in 2018. So I have a little bit to say about all of these guys. Looking at it financially and organizationally, first and foremost, when we look at the Winnipeg Jets, they now have a lot more money to try and keep the players that they thought they might be losing, such as Connor Hellebuyck. We'll see this in just a second. They recoup a second in 2024, which they did not have either. So they go ahead and say, now we have a bit more money to say, okay, maybe we can keep Mark Scheifele. Maybe we can keep Connor Hellebuyck. Maybe we can keep whoever else comes in and maybe on a more difficult contract. So they still have a lot of room, a long way to go. They only have 8 forwards signed currently, as well as 6 defense. So you know what? It's not the worst thing. They only need a few more forwards. it's actually not too crazy. But I'm thinking about long-term, they don't have as much signed on. When you look beyond this year, it's really just Kyle Connor, Adam Lowry, and Josh Morrissey who are signed long-term, right? So they do have a lot of work to do longer term, and hopefully now with a bit more money to play with, they could turn that into keeping these guys. But that, more money is great, but you still have to fill in those roster spots, right? So I do see it as a good trade for both teams. I do think that the Kings are banking on who he's going to be. That's what any trade is, right? You're banking on what the player has shown and what he'll continue to do. If Kopitar turns into their franchise first-line centerman after Anze Kopitar, is it a fleece? I don't think it's a fleece still. I still think they've given up good value. I like Gabriel Vilardi a lot. I've been saying this since the 2017 draft. I think he was the steal of the draft in terms of some of the top players to go. I thought he could have gone when New York took Elias Anderson. I thought he could have gone when Detroit took Michael Rasmussen. I thought he could have definitely been in that top 10, and I loved LA taking him at number 11. I've been saying this ever since it happened. I had to sit at a table with the guy at a Jets function earlier this year. Love the deal for Winnipeg. There you go. Thanks, Vassy. Gabe Vilardi in the NHL, this was his first real, I think, self-establishing season. He had played 54 games previously, but this season he was able to play in 63 games. He scored 23 goals and 41 points. That put him on an 82-game pace of 53 points. So I like Gabe Vilardi a lot. I like what he's been showing. He's 23 years of age. He'll be turning 24 over this offseason, and I think that he will be a top 6 winger for the Winnipeg Jets moving forward. Alex Iafallo, he's probably not going to be on a piece in Winnipeg for as long. He is, where is Iafallo? He's only signed for one more year after this next one, so 2023-24 and 2024-25, which is not horrible. 2 more seasons, and maybe he wants to stay beyond that. But by then, he's 31. He's not on the same track as Vilardi and Kupari are. So the Kings now bring in an $8.5 million cap hit. Let's crunch these numbers quickly, since it hasn't been refreshed yet. 9.036666. And then I go ahead and remove $4 million. I go ahead and remove, Vilardi was an RFA, forgot about that. Remove $4 million, or add $4 million to the cap space. And then I remove 8.5 to Dubois. That leaves the Kings now with 4.5 million to go ahead and try and sign Jared Anderson-Dolan. They need some defense for sure, as they only have 4 signed on right now. They need a backup goalie. So it's tight in LA. It is very tight in LA. They need a backup goalie. They need 2 defensemen. They need probably another forward or 2, and they have 4.5 million at the moment. They're in a tough spot. But I do like the deal in terms of what he's going to give them in the lineup, because now your top 6 is Kopitar, Fiala, Danault, Kempe, Arvidsson, and Dubois. Assuming that Quinton Byfield is still in your third line, Arthur Kaliev still in your third line. But, it allows Philip Danault to drop down to third line center, perhaps. He was signed on as a second line center. He's making second line center money, but maybe he can play middle 6 as opposed to top 6 now. Danault is a very good, very competent forward, one of the better defensive forwards in the league more often than not. So now, Marc Bergevin, he gets Philippe Danault, et il a Pierre-Luc Dubois aussi. So he gets Philippe Danault and Pierre-Luc Dubois, 2 French Canadians for Marc Bergevin in Los Angeles. So that's just looking at the numbers. So Gabe Vilardi, we looked at his numbers. Alex Iafallo, he is, like I said before, a very competent top 9 forward. He can slot around where needed. His 82-game pace this season, he scored 36 points in 59 games. That was a 50-point pace, so he was on a career pace this season. Iafallo, very good. 50-point pace and able to consistently be in that high 30s, 40-point range. Not always in the full season here. So he's about a 40-point guy. I'm not going to say that he's anything wild, but he's going to be a nice addition to Winnipeg's lineup, where previously playing on their third line, they had players that you maybe wouldn't want to be there as much. You had the Mason Appletons and the Morgan Barons of the world. Now you can get Iafallo in there. Rasmus Kupari is probably the biggest question mark of this trade, as he was the 20th overall pick in 2018. He spent a lot more time in the AHL than the NHL. It looks like, no, actually, this past season put him over the top, but he's been back and forth since being drafted in 2018. He had 33 points in 43 games in Liga. In the AHL most recently, 8 points in 15 games, 9 points in 11 games. This past season, as a centerman, as a bottom 6 centerman, he scored 3 goals and 15 points in 66 games. Nothing really to write home about. His previous season was a bit better, 13 and 57. But I do like his upside, and I do like that he'll be able to breathe a bit better in Winnipeg, where it was just way too much center depth in LA. You had the players we already mentioned here. You had the Kopitar and Byfield and Danault, of course. On top of that, you had Jared Anderson-Dolan, who can play center. Kupari can play center. Gabe Vilardi can play center. Yeah, Blake Lizotte can play center. It was just too much. So allowing him to move on is a good move for them, and it adds value to this deal. So that about does it for who those players are. I want to pull up the cards on each of those three players, unless Jay Fresh did it already. If not, we'll go into the file, into the Google Sheets, and pull it up for Vilardi, Iafallo, and Kupari. Let me see if he did it. Jay Fresh, are you working the phones? Just such a long time to load. He is. Hey, look at that. Gabe Vilardi, already up. So Gabe Vilardi is a shoot-first two-way forward who creates chances for himself off extended possessions and finishes them well. He also draws loads of penalties. Lots of value in that. 86th percentile of projected wins above replacement. I love to see that. If I'm Winnipeg, this is your crown jewel of the return. This is the best piece that you're getting back. He may not have as much even strength offense, great even strength defense, goals per 60 higher than you may think, draws a ton of penalties according to the numbers here. This may be surprising for a lot of you. Yeah, Landon even saying, wow. This may be surprising for a lot of you. Gabe Vilardi, you may have been sleeping on him as he was over on the West Coast in LA, but I've been talking about this guy ever since he was drafted 11th overall. I thought that a lot of teams, all the way from 7 probably, could have taken Gabe Vilardi, and he is starting to prove what he's capable of as a shoot-first two-way forward. So that's going to be the crown jewel piece of this trade for Winnipeg. They also get Alex Iafallo, a defense-first winger who kills penalties and doesn't take them. I feel like he's a guy who fits the Winnipeg style as well. He has around league average offense, but very, very good even strength defense in that 96th percentile. Very average everywhere else. Power play average, penalty kill above average, playing against average competition, average primary assists per 60. I like this very much, and he's in that 64th percentile of wins above replacement. He's on a digestible contract. I'm sure he'd be interested in re-signing as well if he's given the ice time that he has shown himself to deserve. So the Kings basically gave up, Rob commenting, Durzi, Vilardi, Kupari, and Iafallo for Dubois. Well, they also got a second-round pick from the Coyotes for Durzi, and a second-round pick from the Jets as well. No, sorry, they gave a second-round pick, so I guess it kind of cancels out. Yeah, you could say that, I guess, in a certain way. Rasmus Kupari, meanwhile, who, again, very small sample size in terms of ice time, fourth liner time on ice. He is a low-event defensive depth forward. But as we saw, 40 points in 50 games in the SHL. He has the offensive upside. Give him, I'm not saying give him first line, but give him top 9, give him a little bit of special teams. I think that Kupari could do a lot more in Winnipeg than he probably would have ever been able to do in Los Angeles. So let's go ahead and pull up some of the comments people are saying in here. The Jets, yeah, that's something you can notice right there. Jets bringing in a lot of defensive presence right there. The full trade details, it is Pierre-Luc Dubois traded at 100% salary retained. 100% salary, 0 retention, traded to the Los Angeles Kings in exchange, can't speak, for Gabe Vilardi, Alex Iafallo, Rasmus Kupari, and a 2024 second-round pick. Vilardi is a stud, and he has no drama around him, just a good guy. Culture and bottom 6 scoring were big issues in Winnipeg. This trade sure helps. Absolutely. Very much so. Yeah, Gabe Vilardi had a super hot start to the season. This is a very good trade for Winnipeg. Again, this is, and yes, I do think DeBrincat will get traded before the draft. This was a similar deal to the Tkachuk situation. Was he on his way out right now? No, but you had to make that deal happen sooner rather than later. So you turned nothing into something, even though Matthew Tkachuk has gone on to do incredible things in Florida. The Flames still got more than they would have out of him had they waited. So the Jets, had they waited another year, Montreal, we want to make it happen. Montreal knows that they have all the cards in their hands. They wouldn't have gotten as much. Now, by doing it now, they get to say, listen, we're going to control the situation a bit more. We get 3 very good pieces, a high draft pick. We get to control a little bit more, and we let you go and do your thing. PLD going to be happy in LA or request a trade in a season? Very limited loyalty in that man. You know what? That's definitely a concern to be considered. I'm sure the Kings did their due diligence, or else they wouldn't have signed him to an 8-year deal. I'll be curious to know if that deal included any no trade considerations. You would think that it would on an 8x8.5. Kind of surprised they got that much for PLD. Yeah, so am I, because the Canadians, I think they were offering a package of some picks, probably like a Jordan Harris, probably like Christian Dvorak in there. I don't think that their trade offer would have been able to match really what the Jets gave at all here. Vasi saying, will be interesting to see what contract they give Vilardi. Wonder if he'd consider a 6x6. That would probably, that'll be paying him more than he's worth, but hoping that you're buying into the potential. I would probably see him getting something like could he do one more year of RFA eligibility? I'm not sure. Let me pull that up, actually. The sign and trade, yeah. Yeah, that's true. Kings didn't sign him. It was a sign and trade, as the Jets technically signed him. 8.5 might be too much now, but that could be worth it. If he's coming off of a career-high season, he's going to be in a better environment for, I don't know, maybe he just didn't like being in Winnipeg. And it's a good ROI as well, as the Jets essentially turned Patrick Laine into this package, as Patrick Laine wanted to be on his way out as well. Let me see, what can I learn from Gabe Vilardi? Arbitration eligible. I need to know more about his because he is RFA eligible now after this one season. I think he'd be RFA eligible again if he signed a 1-year deal. But that's not the type of deal that the Jets would want to sign him to. I would say like Landon, like Vinny said 5.5 for 6. Landon said 3x3.5. I'd probably see like a 4x4 type of thing. Probably nothing much crazier than that. I don't think the term's going to be too much because Vilardi's camp will say, let's see what we can do when given this opportunity. And the Jets won't want to pay too much as it's still a relatively small sample size. But this last season was a very big step for Gabe Vilardi. So unfortunately, no update yet on cap friendly. I'd love to see an update there just to see the numbers reflected. Yeah, Dubois headed to LA. Let's go and look back at the comments here. I know we have a comment here. No way Montreal is going to pay that when Suzuki and Caulfield are making less than $8 million. That's exactly it. I 100% agree. Usually when a player is demanding a trade of late, the return has been smaller than expected. With his record of complaining his way out of teams, I'm shocked. I think, again, it's not that... and I'm not trying to make excuses for Pierre-Luc Dubois and his attitude over recent years, but I do think that he just needed to be in a spot where he's going to be maybe happier with the direction of the team, happier with the location, happier with the team that's being built around him. Winnipeg are still in a tweener type of spot where they could try and make a push, or they could trade everyone and break it all down and do a full-on rebuild, right? I think that's what was concerning him. He didn't want to sign on long-term when Scheifele's a question mark, Hellebuyck's a question mark. In LA, sure, you have question marks on personnel, but you have Kevin Fiala signed on to like 2030 or 2029. You have Danault signed on for 4 more years, Doughty 4 more years, Mikey Anderson till 2029. A lot more of the team is established, plus a great prospect pool there in LA as well, right? Vinny, Vilardi had 41 points in 63 games and was on fire at the beginning of the year. Definitely worth 6x8. Now, would he be worth it? I'm not debating that. Would Winnipeg be interested in signing that? I think no way. That's the thing. Is he worth it? Could be. Wouldn't disagree with you. I could see the argument. Would Winnipeg want to give 6x8 to a guy who just had one really good season? That's going to be that's what Kevin Cheveldayoff and his camp would be saying. Listen, one good year, good line mates, prove it to us for 2-3 years, then we'll talk. That's the type of thing that I would see happening. Rob, Montreal did pretty well with the Killorn trade anyways. What is this, Killorn? Or are you thinking of Newhook? Yeah, you're thinking of the Newhook trade. He's 22 years of age with upside. That fits well in the young core they're building around. Absolutely. DeBrincat for Suter, maybe. I say that's fair. Landon just trying to manifest it. Is PLD going to play on the wing with Danault and Kopitar as the top 2 centers? Now, I think Danault would have to move to third line probably. I could see Dubois playing the wing if he had to, but Dubois is a centerman through and through. I would be surprised if he was a full-time winger, especially because that wouldn't just be like a one-year thing. Kopitar, Danault, they have some term. Or one that, well, actually, technically Kopitar doesn't, but I'd be very surprised if he doesn't come back after this one more season that he signed on for at $10 million. What line would he be best on? That's when you can start to debate now. You can start to debate that and start to think about, okay, if the first line is Kopitar, Fiala, and let's say, I don't know, Kempe. Second line, Dubois, Arvidsson, and I don't know, you throw in like an Arthur Kaliev into the top six maybe? There's a lot of different things that the Kings can do. That's something that they are going to be very lucky to have, especially even in their prospect pool. Starting, some of those younger guys are starting to come up, but don't forget Alex Laferriere, Alex Turcotte. Don't forget about those guys either. Samuel Fagemo, the Akil Thomas, guys who are 23, 24, just waiting to find that moment to make the push. And, Brant Clark on defense, Jordan Spence, Tobias Bjornfot, former first-round pick. So there's a lot of players that could find their ways into the lineup. Now, I don't disagree with you. Danault is better than Pierre-Luc Dubois in a lot of different ways. I don't disagree with you. Philip Danault is one of my favorite players in the entire NHL. I'm the president of the Danault fan club as a Montreal Canadiens fan as well. I love Danault. If I am the coach of the Kings, I would probably try Dubois on the wing with Danault at center. But I think Dubois signing that money, I think there'd probably be certain expectations. Listen, I'm a center. I want to be a center. I want to be the first line center someday. Would it be disrespectful? Maybe. But I think their first priority is the guy that they just signed for $8.5 million, right? I don't disagree with you, though. I love Danault. I think he should be there. I think he's worth playing in that top six. He's getting paid to play in that top six. But I'll be curious. I'll be very curious to see what happens. So Kupari gets a fresh start. He's a former first-round pick. Iafallo, a good defensive top nine forward. Yet Gabe Vilardi, who has been killing it as of late, especially in this first season of really getting to spread his wings and fly. In exchange for Pierre-Luc Dubois, who's coming off of he himself a career year. So one last time for those of you who may be joining the stream a bit later, we'll go through the J Fresh cards. Just one last time looking at Jens McKenzie here. A lot of teams in recent years are signing young players long-term before consistent elite seasons so they don't have to pay more later. That's true as well. But I think that's more for the Stutzlas and the Robertsons and the Caulfields of the world, as opposed to for Gabe Vilardi, who would have to do probably another season like that. Center depth heaven, that would be incredible. And to know back to the Habs, I wish. That would be great. Definitely going to get tickets for Winnipeg versus LA. Wonder if there's going to be a Line-A's better chance. All right, so last thing we'll look at, just looking at something we already did earlier on, just to refresh your memory. Gabe Vilardi is a monster, super underrated. I love this man. Shoot first, two-way forward. I can't wait to see what he does. This is kind of like, I bet Gabe Vilardi is one of my fantasy sleepers next season. I can't wait to see what he does in Winnipeg. He creates chances for himself off extend possessions and finishes them well. He also draws a load of penalties. He's in that 86th percentile of the entire NHL for projected wins above replacement, 85th for even strength defense, 97th for drawing penalties, 85th for finishing, and 80th for goals per 60. Even strength offense and primary assists, you can work on those. And he's not playing against the craziest levels of competition either, nor is he playing with the best teammates. However, when I see this stuff, all these 86s and 80s and 97s, you can definitely build on that and really have a moldable, malleable player. The Jets also pick up Alex Iafallo, a defense-first winger who kills penalties and doesn't take them. 96th percentile for even strength defense. Incredible. 64th percentile overall in the entire league. And Rasmus Kupari, he's your project in this trade. Former 20th overall selection. He's only been playing depth fourth line minutes. He's shown his capabilities, scoring 33 points in 43 games in Liga. He's shown his ability to do that. In the North American game has been a bit tougher for him, perhaps, but he has shown those flashes. He's still 23. He's the one where it's kind of like, just take him and work with him. We got to move him now or else we may never get anything better for him. So the Jets did well to pick him up and the Kings did well to move him, but I'm not sold on him really becoming too much, unfortunately. But you never know. Now, last but not least, Pierre-Luc Dubois, the biggest piece in this trade, goes to the LA Kings. He has had incredible even strength offense, a top six centerman who is very strong at driving the offense, at even strength and on the power play, but not a great finisher, and he has been iffy defensively. Where does EK65 go? We'll see. There's been a few teams kicking tires. So he is in that 63rd percentile when the even strength defense is pulling him down. It has been slightly increasing the last couple of years. His offense took a big spike, then came a bit down, but still very good, as this was his best offensive year of his career. But his value, his wins above replacement percentile rank, how many wins is he providing to his team above replacement level players? That continues to steadily rise. Great power play guy, slightly below league average for goals and primary assists. So now put him with the Adrian Kempe or the Victor Arvidsson or the Kevin Fiala of the world. And now I'd be curious to see how the rest of his game comes along here. Who has 11 million to spare? We'll see. The Sharks would be interested in retaining some value, some cap, but definitely not 50% retained. Here's his projection card for 2023-24. I'll obviously take this with a big grain of salt, but here's what we're looking at. High offense, lower defense, and pretty above average for everywhere else. Yeah. Last thing I want to look at, what kind of ice time was Pierre-Luc Dubois getting? It's the last thing I want to look at. Nay, welcome to the stream, buddy. We're just about wrapping this one up. Hopefully the last trade stream of the day. It has been a doozy. Blackwood, Hayes, Newhook, Dubois. I just want to see a bit more about his ice time and his face-off percentages. And then after that, I think we'll call it. We have our live stream in 2.5 hours, which is going to be for the award stream. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Ongoing breaking news and analysis. The draft stream tomorrow night. Tonight we have a live stream on NHL 23, which is going to be the Hart nominees versus the Norris nominees versus the Selke nominees versus the Lady Bing nominees. Yeah, the Discord notifications are just going off right now. A lot of videos today. So I hope that you'll be able to join us for them. Join the Discord server, link in the description, where we're always talking breaking news. So he has taken a lot of faceoffs in recent years. He's been playing the wings, not in those 1,000+ faceoffs, but he's been taking a lot. But his winning percentage has pretty much always been below 50%. In his total NHL career, he's 45.4% on the dot. With the Jets, he's been at 47%. And his ice time has been, as of late, 18.5 to 19 minutes per night the last couple seasons that he has played. Now, take those numbers, 19 minutes per night and high 40s on the faceoff dot. Let's go look at Philippe Danault, one of the best defensive forwards in the league. Not afraid to say it. Danault, meanwhile, is eating 18-20 of ice time per night, and he's way better on the dot. And 4 consecutive years of Selke votes before this season. So you know what? I gotta think that that you start with Dubois on the wing, but who knows what the conversations have been behind the scenes. I'm only coming if I'm going to play top 6 center. I'm only going to sign if XYZ. So who knows what those conversations behind closed doors have been. But I would think if I had to make a purely hockey decision that Philippe Danault remains as my second-line centerman. So ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. The Kings get a big piece for their future. He is a top 6 centerman for the future beyond Anze Kopitar. Hopefully he and Byfield can be the 1-2 punch in Los Angeles. The Winnipeg Jets get value from a very difficult situation, squeezing as much lemonade as possible and getting a great top 6 forward in Gabe Vilardi, a great top 6, top 9 forward who has a very strong defensive flair in Alex Iafallo, a former first-round pick who could be a project that becomes something special in Rasmus Kupari, and on top of that, a second-round pick to boot. So I think the Jets did not only the best with what they could have done with this situation, but I think they did very, very well. I think they got a great return, and I think that the Kings were also not totally put out to give that up either. They can survive without those 3 pieces, although Gabe Vilardi does hurt. Maybe, yeah, it could be that he plays on the wing until Kopitar comes back. Until Kopitar starts to take a step back and then he comes into that role. That's possible as well. A lot of different ways you can think about it. So ladies and gentlemen, we'll wrap it up there. Thank you for joining for another live stream today. It was a long day of live streams. I'm sure there's still more to come. Subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a like if you enjoyed the breakdown. And of course, if you enjoyed all of this hockey stuff, you'll enjoy the continuing coverage of the NHL draft tomorrow, free agency on July 1st, and much, much more over the course of the summer. NHL 23 franchise mode, career simulations, and a lot more that you would enjoy. Yes, I am very tired, and hopefully nothing breaks between now and tomorrow, honestly. I wouldn't mind having no more live streams until we're live for NHL 23 this evening. I hope to see many of you there. Thank you for joining me this afternoon. Big trades going down. I hope that you're enjoying this crazy start to the offseason. I know I am. And I look forward to talking to you all again soon. Thank you very much, and hope to see you tonight.